Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Georgia Gang on this Sunday, December 21st. A contentious hearing under the Gold Dome between Fulton County DA Fani Willis and Senate Republicans. Also, mystery money targets Bert Jones as the GOP gubernatorial primary heats up. And from sound stages to servers, Georgia film studios could face a market pivot. Kathy, Phil, Theron, and Martha are all here. The debate and discussion begin right now.
From the Fox 5 studios, the Georgia Gang starts now.
A dramatic and at times combative hearing at the Georgia Capitol this week. A defiant Fulton County DA Fani Willis lashed out at Georgia lawmakers, investigating her conduct, calling questions dumb, and the hearing a witch hunt.
And you can use all this in your campaign ad. You attacked Fani Willis. What have you done, sir? Nothing.
A fiery showdown between Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis and the Republican-led State Senate committee that is investigating allegations of misconduct during her prosecution of President Donald Trump for his alleged criminal interference in the 2020 election.
Do you want to answer?
It's a dumbass question.
I know it is, but go ahead and tell him.
I thought she did very well. She's angry, but if somebody called me a crook, I'd be angry too.
The State Court of Appeals removed Willis from the RICO case that implicated President Trump and 18 other defendants after revelations she was having a romantic relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade.
Let Fani Willis just talk, because you get that woman talking and she goes crazy. So extremely excited with how the committee outcome today.
During Wednesday's testimony, the committee pressed her on how much money she spent on the case. She called the hearing a witch hunt.
That's really an ignorant question. And if you understand what the word ignorant means, it means the lack of knowledge.
The committee doesn't have the power to do anything to punish Willis. It's supposed to be examining whether changes to state law are needed to bar further misconduct.
You learn nothing. Nothing that the state of Georgia could do could correct any of this.
We were today trying to get to the bottom of the witch hunt that went on against the president and the other Georgians and people from out of state that had to endure this prosecution over the course of a couple of years before she was removed for the appearance of impropriety.
The hearing doesn't carry any direct consequences for Willis. The committee can't sanction her or remove her from office, but lawmakers say her testimony will factor into potential legislation aimed at tightening oversight of prosecutors and the use of special prosecutors going forward. Kathy, let's start with you this week. Did Fani Willis hurt her own credibility with her combative approach, or was she right to push back forcefully against what she sees as a partisan investigation?
Well, in this case, I think both things can be true, right? I think she's definitely right to be pushing back about this. This was a show. It was really aimed to help Bill Cowsert with his election. He couldn't be there, so it kind of fell on the hands of Dolezal. But I think also, it would probably be better if she toned it down just a tad, but she was quite effective and she wasn't wrong. Every statement that we saw in that little package, was accurate. And I think that it's just time to let that election go, but fortunately, it's also time that we have to let go of some of the people, like the folks in Coffee County, who kind of get swept out the door with this, but who really should be having a hearing right now to see if they did things that were illegal.
Phil, Willis said that she didn't know how much the Trump case cost Fulton County taxpayers.
Well, her memory loss was not that shocking. She couldn't remember most of the things. That's why her questions are probably so accurate. I just can't remember. You can go online and look at the Fulton County District Attorney's checkbook. I looked at it, and there's all sorts of expenses. For example, her lover, Nathan Wade, had $100,000 given to him basically from one of the funds there. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can see. If the public can see it, how come she couldn't answer these questions? And, Greg Dolezal, that was a good package, by the way, Lori. Greg Dolezal, the acting chairman, had to cut off the microphone twice. Totally unprofessional. She's an officer of the court. She should have been far more professional, and she could have made herself look a lot better, in my opinion. But I think the questions there are going to be of very good interest to the U.S. Attorney, Teddy Hertzberg. I think he's going to look for some discrepancies between what Nathan Wade said and what she said in timelines. When did this witch hunt against President Trump start? Well, I think Wade said it was January 1st, before she took office. She says, no, that wasn't right. At least they didn't line up. So this is going to be fascinating. I think some good information did come out of this.
Well, Theron, I think Republicans and Democrats have a much different take on her tone and her style. But Fani Willis is a fighter. I mean, she fights crime. It's what she does. I mean, that was clear in her presentation skills.
Well, first of all, Lori, to lighten the mood, these Christmas trees in this holiday setting is amazing. So
Don't change the subject.
You see my spin going on here?
Yes, yes.
No, but to get directly to your question, if you look at this, and I actually did watch the hearing in its totality, and versus what you see on social media, and I also agree your package was very well done, is if you look at social media and the clips, it's a fiery district attorney who is being attacked, who's also responding to some very tough questions by some Republicans who believe that they think that the election in question was some mishaps there and that it should not even happen as far as being indicted. But when you really listen to the details, Lori, it showed us a lot about how the district attorney's office needs more funding, how she was dealt a really, really tough hand coming in. And yes, there were probably some things that happened that she didn't want to disclose. And you had to know when you're bringing a former prosecutor, now the district attorney, on the stand to try to do her job and ask her tough questions, you were going to get a combative sort of response. But also, I think that we as taxpayers, we can put this behind us. I agree with Kathy. It's time for us to move on. The 2020 election is over. Yes, District Attorney Willis had a moment to answer some tough questions. You can question her conduct, but you're right, she is a fighter. And I thought Roy Barnes, our former governor, had a good quote at the end. Look, if someone's calling you a crook, if Phil, you call me a crook, you're doing right, you're going to get a little pushback from me. And I may be a little combative, but I do think, honestly, that there was a lot of questions that were answered, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions. But ultimately, I think District Attorney Willis should put this behind her and go on to continue to put bad people in jail like she's been doing.
It's so funny because, you know, what goes around comes around. When Roy Barnes was in the legislature, he passed legislation that would have avoided all of this from happening, where everything wasn't tried in Fulton County that had to do with legislators and things like that. But Tom Murphy blocked it. And so it was funny to see him as the attorney in this case, which he pulled it together at the end, Theron, but he looked very bored and concerned during most of this particular hearing. He was like, I can't believe this is going on. I'm not sure if she was trying to be Mrs. Claus or Cruella de Vil, coming in with the cape and putting the purse. The hardest thing for a woman in leadership position is what to do with your purse, and none of y'all have to deal with that.
And what to wear.
And what to wear. And it was just, I thought that was funny with the purse right out there. I noticed that right off the bat because I've had to deal with that. I mean, someone has to, when you're running for office or you're involved, someone's got to carry your purse.
Look at them, they're just chuckling there.
They're just chuckling, but it's true.
You want to talk about the testimony?
No, I agree with you.
No, I will. Don't worry. I will. But my point is, it was a show. Okay, all of this stuff had been covered before. I don't think it was that this was done to help Bill Calsert. I think that it's more to help the Lieutenant Governor's campaign for governor. I mean, he wanted it to go forward. It was nothing we'd heard before, except she kept saying he billed 160 hours a week. She corrected herself later because there's only 168 hours in a week, so there's no way you can bill 160 hours in a week. So I thought that was, but I don't think we learned anything. I don't. I disagree with you, Phil, on that. We didn't learn anything.
Well, she did look good. I agree with you on that. And I
wasn't saying she looked good, but that's okay.
but I think that, look, I think it was a part of her entrance, right? I'm going to come in, I'm going to show you that I'm unfazed, unbothered, and she knew she was going to have to really answer some tough questions. But ultimately, I think that was a part of all of her sort of approach to this hearing.
I think ultimately, though, Kathy, I mean, how much did the hiring of Nathan Wade really, in their personal relationship, right, ultimately derail what was once seen as the strongest case against President Trump?
Well, it did, and that's what's unfortunate, because in the scheme of things, that's not really that big of a deal. It was an error in judgment. It shouldn't have happened with a case that was this important. But in terms of how it influenced, you know, the investigation of the case, the carrying out the case, those kinds of things, you know, it had little to no impact.
Just one more quick comment. I think the sad thing about it is this just showed, this show that we saw, is that she's not spending time fighting crime in Fulton County. They're still backlogged like you would not believe. I don't disagree they don't need more money, but what I'm saying is they spent a lot of money on this case that had nothing to do with anybody that lived in Fulton County. And that's been my problem with it from the beginning.
Well, yeah, but let me finish what I was going to say. But hearings like this do nothing for the voters of Georgia. It does absolutely nothing. We have heard this. It has scabbed over. We've ripped the scab off again. It doesn't do anything advancing what voters in Georgia need to have happen.
I have to push back.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it was a show.
Finish up, and then you can go.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'll be done.
There's a lot of information.
now.
There's a lot of information, like I say, that the U.S. Attorney can now look at. You used to think you were for accountability. We have to look back at some things. We can do two things at once. We have to look back. And I think that aside from the unethical behavior with Wade and Willis, there's also the flawed RICO statute that was used. It was very clear from the prosecutor, Pete Skandalakis, who dismissed all of this case, that the whole basis of this witch hunt was wrong. And it was just completely a waste of millions of dollars. And the taxpayers of Fulton are going to be gouged for this.
Well, both sides I'm hearing say witch hunt, witch hunt, witch hunt. But Theron, is this the end of the chapter now? Are we putting it to rest?
It should be, but you hear this enthusiastic sort of response from our friend Hit Phil, and I think he represents a segment of the Republican Party that are not over it. But I also really quickly, Lord, we cannot ignore the fact that a lot of people who supported President Donald Trump, who lost, were told that they need to go do something about this election. What they did was in question. And she followed the law, she took it to a grand jury, and 19 people were indicted. So to just say that it was no basis and it never should have been done.
You can indict the old cliche of hamburger.
But how she handled it, and then also we gotta say this, once President Trump got reelected for president, we all knew on this panel that pretty much was over. Yeah.
All right, we'll leave it there, folks. Coming up, a shadowy group pours millions into attack ads, and now Georgia's lieutenant governor is pushing back. Who's really behind the money, and does this fight change the 2026 governor's race?
Have a question or comment for the Georgia Gang? Email them at georgiagang@foxtv.com.
A mystery campaign with deep pockets and no clear fingerprints. Sounds like a good movie. Yes. Lieutenant Governor Bert Jones and Georgia Republicans are firing back after a little-known group spent millions of dollars on attack ads targeting the GOP frontrunner for governor. The Georgia Republican Party has filed an ethics complaint against the group, while Jones's campaign is demanding TV stations pull an ad it says contains false claims. The group behind the ads remains largely anonymous, and that secrecy is now fueling both legal action and political speculation, something we would all love to talk about. Phil, do we expect the identities behind the group to eventually come out, or does this fade without answers?
I think it'll eventually come out. What I did was I filed an open records request. You mentioned this ethics complaint, and what I found out is that it's a very sophisticated operation to try to get around the campaign disclosure laws, and they've done it early. There's no mention of any governorship that Bert Jones is running for, but the bottom line is apparently it's been traced to a P.O. box in Utah. There might be some other connections. Trying to find out who that is, and so that's where we are now. But it could be a great novel that we could all write here.
Do you think is it because no qualifying's happened yet that they're not mentioning the races or anything like that?
Well, the FEC has specific laws on these dark money groups, and so they're doing it early to get around dates, and also they're not mentioning that it's just an attack ad where you pile garbage on the candidate. So it's I think an FEC lawyer basically is doing this, or someone who knows the FEC rules. It's because it's very sophisticated, as I say.
Theron, somebody's doing the dirty work for the Democrats here.
Well, it looks like Phil is on a little witch hunt of his own over here, trying to figure out what's going on.
We call it journalism.
It could be Democrats, but Lori, it could be some Republicans. Because think about it. Bert Jones right now has $10 million in a leadership PAC that he loaned himself. We don't even know how much he's raised himself for his campaign. He still will be able to raise for the leadership PAC while he's in session, but he can't raise personal money for his campaign. The fact of the matter is that you got to look at what's in the ad, and it mirrors what Chris Carr has been talking about now for months, filing complaint after complaint, which for our viewers, which has been turned down, and I know Bert Jones' campaign, his lawyers pushed back on it. So it's creating this sort of narrative around Lieutenant Governor Bert Jones that he's utilizing his position as Lieutenant Governor to get some deals, right? The question is that the President of the United States did a lot of things that Bert Jones is being accused of. However, if you're the Jones campaign right now, you got to figure out, do I respond now or do I respond later? We've seen him file ethics complaints. He's threatened to get the ads pulled. But Bert has enough money in his account right now, Lori, where he can actually go into offense and just say, I'm going to ignore the ad, or he can go into defense. Ultimately, pay attention to the next couple weeks. What he decides to do with his money legally, what he can before the session starts is good. Last thing I would say is this. For you to drop almost $5 million this soon in a governor's race,
this early,
this early, you're going to drop more money during the primary. And if he's the nominee, that's why I don't think it's probably Democrats, it could be some Republicans, they're going to probably have unlimited money that they can use against this campaign.
You're making a good point, but I'm wondering if Carr, he's not doing well with fundraising. I'm wondering if he can even stay in the race next year.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, Carr and Raffensperger's got to make some moves soon.
Martha?
Yeah, I think what's interesting about it is that, you know, I worked on Senator Perdue's campaign, and the Pilotech thing came up over and over and over again. The problem is once you put these things out there, they never go away. He can comment now, but it still doesn't mean it's not going to come up again after he's qualified and that kind of thing. So these things never go away. They're never settled. I remember sitting with Senator Sam Nunn before he left office, and he said that they ran Bill Clinton in '92 because they knew the bimbo stuff was going to come up, and they wanted to put it behind him where it wouldn't come up again. It came up again.
But do the smears
so
backfire? Do they backfire though? If it's too much of a smear?
We'll see.
Backfire.
We'll see. Kathy.
Well, I just want to say I don't see strategically that this is something Democrats are doing. It's a lot of money to be spending early on. I think this is Republicans cannibalizing themselves, and I'm enjoying it. I'm getting the popcorn.
All right, let's move on. I have another really good issue here. New enrollment numbers from Georgia's Affordable Care Act exchange show a significant drop at the start of signups for 2026 coverage. According to the state-run Georgia Access Marketplace, enrollment is down by more than 190,000 policyholders so far, as higher premiums tied to the expiration of pandemic-era subsidies begin to take effect. Kathy, let's get your thoughts on this. I know you follow this closely.
Yeah, this is just tragic. I mean, when you think about it, that's 200,000 people that are going to go into the new year probably without health insurance. And then how that trickles down are jobs lost in local communities. It means probably 1 or 2 hospitals might close along the way. And I expect that there will be more people. When you look at, you might have a policy where you're paying $600 a month right now, which is an awful lot of money. And then in a month, you're going to be asked to pay $2,600 a month. That's just unsustainable. The people who are going to the ACA are not people. It doesn't mean people don't have money, but they are not people who can afford, $25,000 a year in insurance coverage.
Well, Phil, I mean, Obamacare, the whole goal of it was to hold the line on insurance coverage and premiums and all of that. That's clearly not working.
That's right, and you cannot continue to subsidize something that's not working. And so, to the credit of both parties up in on Capitol Hill in D.C., they're trying to find a compromise. I don't know if there's enough in the center to try to do it. Speaker Mike Johnson on the Republican side did unveil a great plan last week, and it doesn't get much coverage in the liberal media here in Georgia, but it's about competition. It's about trying to get small companies with their employees to pool their money so we can bring things down. And some Democrats are supporting that, along with maybe subsidizing the Affordable Care Act for maybe another year or two. So both parties should have done this way before now.
Theron, weigh in.
I agree with Kathy. This is tragic, and this is something that everyone should be paying attention to. When you have almost 200,000 people who are not enrolling in Affordable Care Act, Lori, and it was put in there to fill the gap, but we haven't heard any real solutions from Republicans to do anything different. That was Marjorie Taylor Greene's complaint. But these are 200,000 people, Lori. I bet you 2/3 of them are just going to wing it. They're just like, you know what? We're just not going to have any health insurance. And so when people get sick and suffer, they then die. And I want to say that again, people get sick, they suffer, and they die. And so you have now hundreds of thousands of people in Georgia right now who don't have access to the Affordable Care Act because the Republicans and Democrats can't get together to pass these subsidies.
Quickly.
Well, and we continue to scare people to death on this. I mean, they really need to look in and see what the plans are, because low-income folks are still going to get subsidies. It's the enhanced subsidies that were for people that were over the income levels that aren't going to come through. So I think we need to get it fixed. I thought it would get fixed before the end of the year, but it looks like it's going to be January, and that's according to John Thune.
We'll be following that. Coming up, Georgia helped build a booming film industry, but now many sound stages are sitting empty. In Athens, a major studio is looking to pivot to data centers, raising new questions about jobs, zoning, and the future of film in the state.
Join the discussion on the Georgia Gang Facebook page and watch past episodes on the Georgia Gang YouTube channel.
For years, Georgia could not build sound stages fast enough after Hollywood strikes and industry slowdown and a wave of new construction. Much of that space is now sitting empty. According to the AJC, one studio owner in Athens says roughly 3/4 of Georgia's sound stages are currently unused. And now the owner of Athena Studios is proposing a major pivot, converting parts of the film campus into a large-scale data center. The idea highlights shifting market realities, but it's also touching off concerns about zoning and land use. Phil, is this something we may see more of across Georgia?
The answer is yes when it comes to data centers. I think we've all agreed on the panel already that they're here to stay, and I think the national debate would agree with us. They're here to stay. The question is the balance on where they're located. We need more guardrails. We've talked about that. The legislatures of all 50 states are looking at this. I think the feds are looking to try to do national guidelines, but and as we again looking at a data center, we're looking at water and electrical needs, and some counties and locales can do that properly without hurting anything. Others cannot do that, and so that's the big thing. I can't blame maybe a movie studio. The film industry is really trying to pivot and trying to be relevant in this environment. That's probably a topic for another day, but I don't blame this trying to get a data center. I mean, we talked about one data center in Columbia County the other day. Now there's two others outside. They're popping up.
Well, when I was reading the stories about these, what really came to my mind first and foremost is, were any tax credits used to build these film studios, and now are there tax credits being used for the data centers? And I think, this is what we have to think. We're chasing these trends and we're paying money for folks to come here. It costs us a lot of money to manage them. And then, when the business goes away, taxpayers are stuck holding the bag.
That's why we need to get rid of the income tax.
All right, moving on. 2 Georgia universities are helping test a new approach to how colleges are judged and approved at the federal level. Columbus State and Georgia Southern have agreed to serve as early participants in a newly created accreditation group formed by Georgia and several neighboring states. Martha, what will this tell us? And this is pretty controversial, too.
It's controversial, but, education always kind of goes in these new directions where they want to see how they can measure better and do things better. And what we've seen, especially in the areas that they're talking about here in the Southeast, is there's been a huge increase in applications and all that sort of thing. So what they're trying to do is make some changes that will bring us into the 21st century, somehow merging together some of the technical degrees and college degrees. Right now, there's not a way to measure that, and so that's one of the things they're looking at. But I think there'll be more. And look, I like new ideas, so we'll see how it goes.
Theron?
Well, one of the things I saw in the story that I want to point out is that it kind of gives an inference that, it's this woke culture here. And I want to say this: colleges don't make young people woke. What it does is that you go to an institution, whether it's a technical school, 2-year, 4-year institution, and for a lot of us, I can't speak for the panelists, but this was the first time that I actually met a lot of people from different races, different perspectives, and I grew as a young adult. And so the woke thing that to me is really bothers me, but I'm all for making enhancements that's going to make the matriculation at the college or university better for these folks when they go out into the workplace. But putting these restrictions in now and not really listening to the culture and the students that are coming to these universities is what kind of concerns me.
Okay, I got 30 seconds, Phil.
You can be brainwashed by woke professors and be scared that you're going to be failed by woke professors, so don't forget that.
No, look, I did have some woke professors and I had some non-woke professors, but I think that as a young adult, these young people now should be given an opportunity to have a good education, and I think we shouldn't attack these professors, but many of whom are not getting paid where you think they should be paid to go and educate our young adults.
All right, we'll leave it there, folks. Coming up, winners and losers. Stay tuned.
Time now for the week's winners and losers.
All right, Theron, we'll start with you.
All right, so I forgot a lot last week, but I want to get it in. So first of all, I want to congratulate the Kennesaw State football team. They won the Conference USA conference. They're actually playing a bowl game as we take, so good luck to them. Also, we lost a giant in the Georgia in sort of national community, Bishop Reginald Thomas Jackson, who passed away. He was a bishop for the AME Church. Also, Michael Langford, who gave me my start at the city of Atlanta. Kathy, you remember Mr. Langford, who recently had a street named after him on the southeast side of Atlanta. Ann Lerner, winner. I didn't forget you, and recently elected the new mayor of the city of Tucker. And lastly, congratulations to Jaha Howard. He actually is a new state senator from District 35 to replace Jason Estevez.
All right, Phil.
Well, the winter is Christmas time, and of course, Christians around the world are celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, the founder of the earthly church. So that's a winner, and Kathy, you'll appreciate my loser. It's Fulton County, because you know Ann Brumbaugh, the attorney for the Board of Elections, she admitted in sworn testimony that 315,000 early votes counted in 2020 weren't witnessed or sworn to. That's pretty bad. Loser.
Kathy?
Oh my goodness. Well, Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope you have a peaceful
even Phil.
end of year. Even Phil, kind of, sort of.
Thank you.
Congratulations to the National Council of Negro Women. It's their 90th anniversary, and the national chair, Dr. Lois Keith, is a DeKalb County resident, so we're kind of keeping it close to home. There are my winners for the week, and then my loser is the deal between the Public Service Commission and Georgia Power on, once again, passing on increases caused by data centers, for the most part, onto residential customers. This has got to stop.
All right, Martha?
So several times over the last few months, I've lifted up Claire Bartlett in prayer. She passed away last Saturday, and her funeral is on Friday. So people from all over the state have been remembering her. She was a wonderful light in our movement. She was a good, kind person, and I will miss her greatly. And, she had a glioblastoma, and it was it went very quickly. So Claire Bartlett, you'll always be a winner. I lift up her family and all of the things. And then I'm not going to have any losers this week because it's Christmas, and I just want people to think about their families and take the time to remember how great things are.
Oh, so well said. We'll leave it there, folks. Make it a great Christmas. We will see you again next week. Merry Christmas.